Welcome back to the channel, guys. What is going on? It's Poképortfolio here. Today, we're going to be doing a slightly different video. I've had a request to do a grading video. So what we're going to do a grading with Poképortfolio video. We're going to see the steps, it takes to get for your cards all the way to America and back. And the way I personally do it, probably not the best way, but the way I do it. And I'll show you some of the options you've got. Okay, so if you like this sort of content, guys, be sure to let me know. Give me some feedback down below. I would greatly appreciate it. So, PSA. As you might have known, PSA is sort of the leader in the space for grading, along other names, Beckett, CGC, Ace in the UK. So we've got different grading companies. Is the first thing I wanted to sort of point out. Obviously, a lot of people already know that, but PSA are sort of the gold standard in grading. Beckett's probably up there with their black labels, but PSA is normally where people go. So unfortunately, it is only really in America. So your cards, regardless of where you are in the world, they sort of have to go to America to get graded. There's a couple ways you can do this. So you can actually get a PSA membership, and you can start sending cards directly to them through trading card bulk if they're less than £200 graded value at the end. So basically, I don't do it this way because there's a few reasons. The first is you obviously have to join this collectors club. So that is £149 a year, which is roughly just 100 quid. So if you're thinking about not if you're thinking about doing a couple cards, you sort of need to be a regular grader to really for that to pay off. I wasn't at the start, and now I am, but I'm still doing it a different way. But then on top of that, you have to pay bulk grading fees of $19 a card, which is roughly you get a cheaper price, which is like roughly just less than 15 quid. You get for per card, which is good for margin, but bearing in mind you have to pay that £100, $150 upfront each year to have the opportunity to grade with them per card. You still get an estimated turnaround time of 65 business days, so it is quite long. That waiting time is different depending on what different middlemen you go through, but 65 days is long for PSA. You'll feel like you're waiting a long time to get your cards back. That can prove its own challenges. Obviously, a lot can change in that time frame. Pokemon might drop a massive reprint for the cards you've sent, and suddenly they come back, and it actually wasn't worth grading them in that time frame. So you sort of have to be careful with what you send off. That's sort of my advice. With PSA as well, as far as I'm aware, you have to manually input the cards you have to grade or want to grade. So that was what you had to do last time. I was aware. I don't know if that's changed, but you do have to manually input your cards. So you have to know exactly what card you're sending off to them, so they have that list. Whereas different middlemen do it for you. So let me show you the way I do it. So this website up here is called Subcenter. They're a sort of middleman grading company out of Kent. I have no affiliation with them. I just use them because I know that they're great with my cards. They have great customer service. It's always on time. The turnaround time is pretty quick, considering all things considered. So this is their website. This is what I use. And if you scroll down, you can take a look at some of their prices, their PSA services. So obviously, I use the £17.50 one. It's pretty decent for the price. Estimated turnaround time is 65 business days, same as PSA. That's actually gone up. Same as the PSA website. I think that's gone up from 45 to 65. So they're increasing their business days there, which isn't great to see. It's obviously getting quite backlogged again, even though PSA should have been expanding this whole time, which is crazy. But I still think £17.50 per card. It's reasonable. It's reasonable. You can, especially if you're a grader like me. I grade for many reasons. I grade to keep my cards. I grade to sell them on. I don't always sell my cards on. Some of them I do feel personal, connection with, so I do keep some of my cards. But for the most part, I do sell them on. So the margin has to make sense. in that aspect. So £17.50 is ideally, I think it should be £10 a card. In the ideal world, a £10 a card sounds great, or £15 a card. £17.50 starts pushing £20, and it gets quite expensive. The margin sort of drops for the grade in play, but if you want to grade a few cards, it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to sort of take you through how I grade and what you have to sort of look out for. There's a few things you have to sort of already have. You have to have semi-rigids and you have to have loose penny sleeves. Those are the two requirements that you do have to have on your card when sending them off. So I'll go through all that and things, but let's dive straight in. So obviously you got a selection of Beckett, CGC, Water, and some of the other issue return stuff. Obviously CGC is cheaper, right? It depends if you get tens and stuff, but I always prefer the gold standard is PSA. Beckett is slightly more expensive at £20 a card, but you get that shot at the black label. So if you guys have the most pristine, perfectly centered card, no edge wear, no scratches, centering corners, everything's perfect. Beckett might be the play for you, because if you get that black label, it does slap a massive premium on that slab. And you as long as the intrinsic value is under 1,000, if it's more than 1,000 in the black label, then you'll get an upcharge, right? But if you already know it's going to be above 1,000 regardless, you might as well do the standard, because you get it in 20 business days or less. If you upcharge it, I'm not sure how good they are at sticking to the business days if they upcharge, but you might get it quicker if you know, right? Same for PSA. You obviously have the TCG bulk. They know people love Pokemon cards. That's why this is sort of cheaper than the sports tiers. You also have Value Plus. You have Value. You have Regular. So it depends how fast you want your card and how much your card costs, right? If you guys don't know, the way they stagger their grading fees is based on how expensive the card is in the final graded value, not raw, the final graded. So if you say you get back a 9 in the Giratina Lost Origins, it might be less than 500. But if you get it back in a 10, it's going to be more than 500, right? So there's certain things that you don't know which way it's going to go. But if your card is already 1,500 raw, it's going to be more than 1,500. So if you're sending off gold stars, it's going to be more than 1,500 in it whatever grade it gets. You might as well just fork it out straight away, because you could get it in 10 days or less, right? Which is 2 weeks. The 45 business days does feel quite long when you're sort of waiting around for it to come back. That's why it's interesting. If you get into the grading play, you can try and get into a flow of things, and cards sort of come back every month. That is sort of what I'm aiming for. But let's try and get started with this. I can show you what I wanted to grade. So I've got some cards that I want to grade, so we can go through this. So like I say, $200 or less. Then in my submission, there may be a card that might push that $200 mark, so I might get upcharged, but it could go either way. If it's a 9, it won't be. If it's a 10, it will be. So I'm fine risking it. If I get upcharged, I get upcharged, right? Do you require semi-rigids to be added to this order? So that is something that you it's better to do it yourself, because otherwise they're going to charge you for semi-rigids. You can get them on Amazon pretty cheap. So I'm going to say no, because I'm sending them in semi-rigids. Semi-rigid isn't a top loader. A top loader is quite rigid in terms of rigidity. The semi-rigids are a lot more flexible. If you type in semi-rigids on Amazon, they will come up. You will see the difference. If not, I'm sure there's a YouTube video explaining the difference somewhere if you want to check it out. So it says, do you require a holder removal service for any of your cards? So that is, I think, more in terms of, are you going to cross grade? So if it's a CGC 10, are you going to send it off to get the slab cracked or the holder cracked? So I'm going to say no. Would you like to add a submission list? Not required. So this is this is one of the reasons I grade with a middleman, right? Is I really can't be bothered to list all the cards I'm sending off. especially it might be lazy, but especially if I'm sending 20, 30 cards, if you get again up to that range, I'm only going to send 13 today, right? But if you start, it becomes trying to find the correct card name, list, set number. It becomes a bit of a issue, right? It just time wise, it's quite time consuming. So I'm going to say no because they do it for me. They do it for us. That's part of the service. That's why it's slightly more expensive, the £17.50 than the £15, because they do a lot of that work for you. Do you require pre-grading preparation services under 500 raw value? So you can get your cards pre-graded. So they have their a pre-grading service where they offer you a grade what they think it's going to get from PSA. Obviously, they're probably quite accurate. I've never used this service. Let me know down in the comments if you guys have used this service, but I have not. So I'm going to say no. I'm not really too bothered about knowing. I'd rather just get them back, and whatever they will be will be. I'm pretty good at screening out eights, sevens. I only try and send off gem mint cards. Some of them will be nines, mint and gem mint. So, and I'm okay with those being nines, right? So that's just the risk you have to take. Do you require pre-grading preparation services? Like I say, that's a no. Um, so, and then you come down here, and the only sort of negative thing I could say is that you have to send 10 cards minimum. It is a bit of an issue if you want to get started and you've got your Grail card and you just want to send a Grail card for through bulk. That might be less than $200. For bulk, you have to send 10 minimum. So I'm going to send 13. Obviously, the best way you could split this up is if you know someone that also has cards that want a few graded. If you want to try and do a joint submission, that's probably one of the ways that I've done it in the past. Is my mate had 4 cards he wanted to send off. I had less than 10. I had 6. So I was like, do you want to sort of team up and send them together, get them back together, so I don't have to wait to buy more cards to send off. So that's a way you could sort of do it. So like I say, semi-rigids, there's all a description of services down here. It'd be good for you guys to read this if you're not familiar. They've got holder removal, like I say, service description. So it gives you a bit of detail. 65. This is not a guaranteed time frame. They work with PSA to keep them updated regularly. Most of the time, it comes back within like 3 months. I'd say it comes back within. Like I say, if they may be upcharged, the insurance limit per card is capped to the final graded value of your chosen service. So it's all to do with insurance. If the card gets lost, they have to pay the insurance. They have to pay you out the value of the card up to $200, and that's why the minimum order quantity is also 10. So I'm gonna add this to my cart now. 13 cards that's been added. Lovely. You can go to view cart now, and we can take a look. So I'll edit some of this out, but essentially now it's just about checking out really, and how you package your cards. So I won't show you this right hand side. That's just proceed to checkout. But do you require semi-rigids? I've said no. You just double check all this before you send off. It's 230 quid, so it's quite expensive. They also add shipping. So shipping, you can't see it, but shipping's £13 for next day delivery. Or you can collect in store if you're from Kent. So that's going to be total £240. So let's move to checkout. Okay, I'm going to blur out all this, but yeah, that's pretty straightforward now. You go to checkout, you check out, and you basically just send it to the address that's on their website. And they're in Kent, so there's a website down here somewhere. Yeah, the website's right at the bottom. The address is right at the bottom, down below. So if that's where you want to be sending the package to when you send them. So now we're on to the packaging. Obviously, you've got your cards on the left-hand side in your semi-rigids. Hopefully, just make sure you double count them. Make sure you got the correct quantity that you said you were going to send to Subcenter or wherever you're sending them. Just make sure you're sending the correct quantity. Otherwise, you'll get into disputes with the with the people on how much or how many have actually arrived to them. Um, then I have my packaging. So I've just got generic a bubble wrapped envelope that I send a lot of my stuff in. I used to send it off in cardboard boxes because I thought it's more secure, but I found that they tend to move around a lot in the cardboard box. It's harder to get them to not move. So I actually changed it to bubble wrap. Obviously, it's not good if you're sending 50 cards in, but it's fine if you're doing, 20 cards could probably fit in there quite comfy. So yeah, that is my sort of packaging combination. But I also forgot to mention that when you're checking out the Subcenter, you also have an option for like clean and polish. If you've got any vintage cards, they also do a clean and polish option where you can just make sure that the surface is looking as good as it possibly could be. A lot of vintage is often scratched. It's often got some edge wear and such. So they it's not card altering. It's more of a just to make it look as nice as possible. Maybe just get rid of some of the scratches a little bit. So I would only really do that if you've got a really nice vintage card that you want to just make sure you get the highest grade possible. That might be worth it for that, but they also offer that as well. But on to the additional packaging I put in. So I put in just an A folded up piece of A4 with your details on. Make sure you put your order number, your name, a return address, how many cards you're sending, just general information so they know what to tie to what order. They get a lot of orders through, guys, so it just helps them out. Otherwise, they'll send you an email and ask, is this your order? Because I have no clue whose order it is or where it came from. So make sure you've got your details, your order number in. Otherwise, they don't know who sent it. I also then fold that over the cards, make sure the cards are secure in this folded piece of A4. On top of the folded cards, I put 2 layers of cardboard. Honestly, just for rigidity, it keeps it from bending even more, and then it also secures the cards inside the bubble wrap, so there is literally no movement possible. You could throw it against the wall and it would be okay. After that, I print off a label. My label print is a bit wobbly there, but it does the job. I print off my label, put that on the front there, and then on the back I make sure I double seal my back just to be sure, make sure no glue comes off, because these come with tear and rip seals where there's glue already on there. I just make sure that double safe in the packaging, and then obviously you send it off. I normally send it Royal Mail. 48-hour tracked is my preferred. You obviously get more card coverage, but if you're sending off the value, it really depends on the value. The shipping of the item really depends on the value, because you need to take in consideration how much value you're sending. It's all about value, guys, because that is how insurance works. If they lose the package and you've sent it on the wrong insured level of service, you won't get the money that's owed to you. If you don't declare the right value that you're sending with the post office, with the sender, they can only give you back the money that you've told them that is in there. Just make sure you're transparent with what's in there, because then they'll send it on a better service that you require, because it can happen, right? You can end up losing stuff in the post. It happens. That's why you have insurance of different levels of service, okay? So, yeah, just be sure to do that. Apart from that, everything else is pretty straightforward. You just go to the post office or your delivery place, drop it off, and then you wait a few months, and then they'll send it right back. They'll send it. You've obviously paid for, as soon as it gets to them, you've paid for next day delivery, so it'll be first class straight to your door. And you'll get those pretty quick from the time they come back from America. Like I say, usually it takes 3 months. You can obviously, with the Subcenter, you can see what stage of the grading process it's in, which is also a great benefit to the service. I think that's a good addition. You can see where it's at in the process. For me, that's all I really need, and that's why I use those guys. I've never had a single complaint off them, or I think they're sort of running it pretty smoothly there, the business. So that's why I use the Subcenter. Listen, guys, that's the end of the video. But if you want to show some support, you can take a look at my Insta, eBay, links in the description. I won't bore you anymore. But thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you've gained some value. If you ever wanted to know how to grade, that's how I grade. It's maybe not the most, depending on how you do it, it's probably not the most cost-effective way, depending on the volume. If you're doing high volume, it's probably better you get a PSA, service straight through them. But if you're like a lower volume player like myself, you only send in a couple cards here and there, then this is by far probably one of the better ways to do it. But thanks for watching, guys. I hope you gained some value. So I'll see you in the next video. Peace.